My full name is Sandra Ann Smith Baker, and I was born here in Santa Cruz in 1946. My mother was Christine Brigham Smith, who came here in 1940, came to Santa Cruz from Arkansas with her family, and she met my dad, Willis Edward Smith, known as Smitty. He was stationed at Fort Ord and had come to Santa Cruz on leave or whatever you call it in the Army. And so they met and they were married in 1942. And then he went off to war. And when he came back, I was born the first wave of the baby boomers. I'm like the oldest of the baby boomers, 1946. I'm a boomer. He became a policeman in Santa Cruz in, I believe it was 1952. And I can still remember the day he started on the police force that I, as a young child, was very upset and did not want him to be a policeman. Somewhere I'd heard that they were bad. And I remember crying to him, I don't want my daddy to be a bad man. And he certainly was not. He had a really bad motorcycle accident when he was, I think he was in pursuit of someone, and he was thrown off his motorcycle on Westcliff Drive, actually. And his badge kind of saved his life because he slid on it. And I don't know how to really explain that, but I think my brother still has that badge with all the scratches on it. And growing up in Santa Cruz was happy. When I look back, all my childhood memories seem happy. Quiet, such a quiet little town. We were allowed to just run the neighborhood, and we would even walk to the boardwalk across the trestle by ourselves and walk ourselves home, totally unsupervised, and it felt safe. One thing, when I look back, one thing I really remember is the difference between boys and girls back then. Everything was gender segregated. For instance, I always liked sports, but girls were not allowed in Little League. Even in junior high and high school, we didn't have inter-school sports. We played amongst ourselves. It was just completely different from now, when after Title IX, of course. But I majored in elementary education at the University of Nevada and received a BS in education. Moved back to Santa Cruz and taught in SoCal for 36 years full-time teaching in a classroom, and then 4 years part-time as a reading specialist. It was also very, very gender biased. All the principals and administrators were male at that time. We taught that way, girls line, boys line, girls sports, boys sports. But I did see a lot of changes. This was 1968 when I started. At Santa Cruz Garden School, there was actually a boys class where the teacher taught it as a Navy ship. It was very military, and if you walked in his classroom, all the boys stood up and saluted. Then there was a girls' class, and it was all feminine and quiet and sewing and things. By the time I had my own children, 1974 and 1979, it was starting to be more equitable. I think by the time my daughter was in middle school, junior high, and high school, that more opportunities were there for her. In fact, I know they were, because I remember she played in Little League. It was a lot of times she was the only girl on the team in Little League, but she was certainly accepted and valued. Let's see, we got married in 1972. It'll be 48 years this June. Our son Jay was born in 1974. And it was in the minority to be a working mother in 1974. So I kind of was a pioneer there. It was more accepted to stay home with your baby. Even in 1974, it was. So it was a little bit hard and stressful. Most of our entertainment and recreation was through the kids. Um, Going to their sporting events, going to their school events, taking them camping, to the beach, the boardwalk.